Oh hey, you made it back to the channel, so that's good. Two things today. Number one, we're gonna go through my deadlifting session, my warm-up, my technique, how I set things up, how I build up each set. Number two, I have reason to believe that Sabrina Carpenter might be single, but I don't know for sure. So without further ado, let's get into the video. And I've kind of re-sparked my love for lifting heavy again. And I've been taking good care of my mobility. My cardio is the best it's ever been. My recovery, everything in terms of training is 100%. We're gonna go through my deadlifting session and I'm gonna take you guys to the gym with me. So let's go. First order of business, some internal, external work. He's set up properly. I like to focus on some internal, external work to get the glutes and the quads fired in the right direction so I can make sure that my stance for my sumo deadlift is exactly where it needs to be. And not only that, it also tenses the muscles in my foot for a stronger base as well. So just like 12, 15 external rotations with the band at the knee, and then you can flip around the other direction and bring it inside and stay low so everything's fired up, warmed up, and then of course do the same thing on the other side. Now, if your gym is busy and you don't have any bands, you're probably okay to do this on an abduction machine or an adduction machine, basically a pin-loaded machine. It's just a little more structured, same idea, but I like the internal rotation going downward so you're resisting it during your sumo deadlift. And I find this just warms me up way better than the machine. Sometimes the machine's very isolating and you can exhaust yourself quite a bit before you begin the actual lift. Basic body weight warm-ups. Do not underestimate them. Inchworm walks. It's also ideal to use clips on every set, just in case you come down too hard, the plates smack the ground, and then they're all loose, and they might be spread out on one side, causing it to be uneven, ruining the rest of the reps that you have left in the tank. So we're going for set 2. Remember, we're not burning out. We're just making sure our form is good, warming up our joints, warming up the muscles as we increase to those top weights where we're gonna hit some working sets. Okay, so we're at 3 plates, 300-pound rule for myself. Once I get over 300 pounds, whether it be squats or deadlifts, the belt comes on. I've had back pain in the past that I don't want to come back up again, so it's better to train safe than sorry. If we want to continue to lift heavy for a long period of time and lift heavy for the rest of your life, it's better to take precaution right now. But I also wouldn't advise always wearing a belt either, simply because you still want some of that lumbar spine strength that comes along with just going raw as well. But there comes a point where the lower spine loses its structure when you start to get fatigued, especially when you're multiple sets in. So your last few sets at your heaviest peak of your deadlifting session, I highly recommend wearing a belt just to keep that spinal structure, not necessarily to cheat, right? It's just to help keep your form, because you're able to expand the rib cage, brace against it, and that creates a whole new force that you didn't previously have without wearing the belt. So in a sense, it does help you, but you're not cheating. It's just being safe and trying to maximize the actual lift itself, because that's the goal at the end of the day. So this is also where I change up to a mixed grip, palm forward, the other arm, but still straight down from the shoulder, just inside the thighs. Deep breath. That's perfect. Did 3 reps. If I had to estimate, I could have gotten 10 or more, so that's perfect. I'm not fatigued. I feel well prepared. So now we're moving up to 4 plates, 3 sets of 3 to 5. We'll see how I feel, and we'll let that dictate whether I'm gonna hit 3, 4, or 5 reps on these 3 sets. So let's get to it. Sticking with 3. I don't want it to be over 8 out of 10 effort, to be honest, so we'll stick with that. Probably wait between 3 and 5 minutes between sets. We want to make sure that we're pretty much 100% ready to go and there's no fatigue left over from the previous set before we begin the next one. As far as straps go, I don't use, well, I guess for 405, I don't need straps. And even at my max, when I did my 1 rep max testing a couple weeks ago, my grip strength, because of calisthenics, heavy farmer's carries, and just consistently doing heavy RDLs in the past, has always kept my grip strength pretty good. So I've never needed straps for my deadlifts. But if I were to get to a point where I felt like it was the limiting factor, I definitely would add straps in, but I simply just don't need it for 405. I don't think there's any point in using it if your grip is already at a level where you can hold the weight. That's what keeps your strength. Because if I was to start using straps on this, my grip strength would eventually go down to the point where I need the straps, right? You know, your body adapts and becomes accustomed to everything that you do. But it's been about 5 minutes. Nice. Actually, the last thing I want to add is that is how your last set should look. It shouldn't be you struggling with like 121% effort to get your last rep. You should have some in the tank. You don't want to fatigue your nervous system every single week, it'll help you come in fresh for the next week so you can train even harder. So even though it was still hard, challenging, I probably could have squeezed out 2 more, which is a good solid, 8 out of 10 effort. So I also wanted to add in the fact that when your strength gets to a certain point, it's not necessarily beneficial to your life in any way, right? So for me, I'm doing it purely for fun, to challenge myself in a way that, how much can I pick off the ground? That's what we love to do, and I'm sure everyone else loves to do it too. And honestly, you can go through phases of like comparison. That doesn't mean that he's better in any sense of the way. Everybody's body is shaped so differently, and everybody's at a different starting point that you can't compare. It's honestly really hard to compare strength. Like, I think the only real way you can do it is if you're the same height, you're the same body weight, you have very similar bodily structures in terms of arm length, leg length, torso length. All that stuff comes into play whether you're going to be a great deadlifter, a great squatter, a great bench presser. Those are like genetic enhancements in terms of that movement specifically. And I don't think nobody really talks about that, because like there's just too many genetic factors that come into play. And you just need to do it because you love deadlifting. But I will say this, I don't really think there's any evidence that shows I can now deadlift 500 pounds. A year and a half ago, I could deadlift 350. There's no evidence that shows your health is any better, or there's anything in your life that will actually improve physically. There's nothing in your life that you're doing on a regular basis, or even on a, once a month basis, that you need to be able to pick up more than that weight. It's like a little hobby that you do that occupies your time that's better than, it's better than video games. It's better than playing Frisbee. Basically, all I'm trying to say is, increasing your deadlift max doesn't necessarily equal out to anything substantial in your life, other than the fact that number for that movement has gone up. Like, the only time it's actually going to improve your life is if you're someone who like can't pick up 50 pounds off the ground, and you worked your way up to the point where you can do 150 pounds. Once you get to like 250, 300, you're at the point where you're like a strong human being, right? And if you can maintain that for the rest of your life, that's awesome. That's a goal, right? Because when you start getting to 500, 600, all that's doing is increasing the risk of possible injury that you might have, right? But by all means, if that's your goal, you got to go for it. Because like I said, it's just something to put your attention towards that makes you feel badass. The whole aura of taking pre-workout, driving to the gym, listening to awesome music while you're there. You might even see some people there that you know. There's no better place than the gym. There's no better place, man. All right, that's enough. I'll see you guys in the next video.